Alright guys, TacticalRab here, and I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. After quite the weekend of CDL matches, the OpTic guys have revealed that potentially internet problems behind the scenes of the OpTic headquarters have been affecting their practice in recent weeks, potentially leading to exactly why the Rocker and the Los Angeles Guerrillas series last weekends were rather closer than they would have liked. If these problems continue, could it affect their preparation going into the major and beyond? Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always, I greatly appreciate it. Plenty to dive into today. I mean, as we know, yesterday, rather a lot happened, and of course the day before as well. Firstly though, from Miami, so of course the event is coming up very shortly indeed. As aBeZy and fair play, they have been able to actually secure the Challengers event at the same time in the same venue. There was a big debate as to whether they would have to do the Challengers event in a separate location elsewhere. And also, let's not forget, right, when the season format was confirmed, we only had 2 Challengers events. It was only Boston and only Toronto. Miami, though, said, look, we're going to try and do it. We're going to try and work on it. And that's seemingly exactly what they've done. Now, hopefully everything runs smoothly when they get there, because the belief was they wouldn't have the space to do it at the same time in the venue situation that they've got, but they've found a way to make it work. So as they say, we fought so hard to make this happen, days finally come, Challengers passes now available. Now, the interesting thing about this is, I'm pretty sure by the time this link went live, or at least like by the time they tweeted this out, all of them had already been sold, effectively. So I don't exactly know whether they put them up on the ticket sale site, and then by the time they actually got to tweet it out, I think all of them were basically gone. Now, there's a couple of reasons for this. First of all, because there's only 64 teams, which I say only, like, it's still a lot of teams to actually cater for. I know the gold standard of what, like, is ideal is probably 128, but the difficulty, honestly, of putting on an event on that scale with all the PCs and all the issues, I mean, the House of Blues venue they had in Boston was spectacular. Like, they had so many levels to it, and, you know, I just don't think they're going to be able to pull it off in Miami based on the space constraints or whatever that we think they're going to be working with. So fair enough, 64 team events. But, you know, that means that there's lots of teams, of course, that want to go from all around the world that are trying to get their passes ASAP. So, yeah, team passes go live, and then they're basically all gone before Heretics tweeted the link. Now, it seems like what actually happened here is that some of the team passes, actually, many of the team passes were requested to be withheld from sale by ESL, Activision, whatever, as Justin Blake here says in the replies. 32 open passes, and we were instructed to hold 32 via ESL Activision. So ESL, FaZe, Esports Engine, right? Basically the guys that run the show, and Activision have said hold some of the passes back to reserve the passes for the 24 teams across EU and NA kind of stage 1, and then also the top 8, I'm guessing in the Americas, for Cup 3. So yeah, 32 tickets reserved, and that does mean that the top teams get to go, because it's always a bit sketchy, right? If you allow 64 open passes and just it's a free-for-all, either bots will buy them up and then try and sell them on to other teams. The teams that are actually the best, if they don't get reserved one, then it's just a complete free-for-all. So thankfully that's not the case, I suppose, and hopefully it will work out for the better. And as we can see here, of course, Don Dada and the boys are going in. So, of course, Donnie started out the season in an interesting spot. Later today we'll discuss some of these teams that might need to make roster changes, and definitely in that kind of like flex second AR role, there are a good few players that might need to be changed out of the league as it stands, and Temp is potentially in a good spot to capitalize on that, depending on what happens at this event. I think this is the crucial event for Donnie Temp, right? Because the start of the season, he was on that Houston Spartans team that looked pretty good early on. They got the good practice. Then the team fell off a little bit. Donnie goes his own way. Now he's with Yuli, Dave Panny, and of course 2Real. Even Nagafen is the coach of those guys, players that have been in the league very recently indeed. So obviously wishing the best for these boys. But for all of these players on this team and beyond, it's such a crucial Major 2, because I'm pretty sure after Major 3 in Toronto, it's like the next weekends, there are COD matches on again. Like, there's no break at all because of just the way that the timing works. So after Major 2 is effectively the last big break of the season. Not to say there won't be roster changes after that, but this is like the prime time for roster changes after Major 2 going into Major 3. They could potentially make changes before Major 2, as we'll see later today in the video that we discuss. But certainly after Major 2, if you suck then, you've got to make a move. And therefore, it's the absolute perfect time to win or do very well in the challenger side, because those are the guys that are going to be looked at, right? In the same way that the FaZe Black Boys got picked up very quickly from after the Boston event that they dominated, you know, Asim straight in the league, Kremp straight in the league, you know, for example. This is the same story where if you win this event, if you do well at this event, you will be top of the list to get signed to the Pro League when probably multiple roster changes happen as soon as Miami finishes. And frankly, probably on Saturday, Friday, definitely Sunday night at Miami, conversations like that will be had based on the results. Mohawk as well is actually going to be stepping away, so yeah, hope everything's okay for him. I just know that he's been through a lot over the last few years, and there's constant back and forth on Mohawk because obviously a talented player, got some opportunities in the past, but yeah, doesn't seem to have made the most of them based on what we have seen. So wishing him the best in the near future. We've got to discuss, though, this whole OpTic situation. Now, I'm pretty sure this has been a conversation in the past around their headquarters. It's no longer the Hex quarters, of course, that's now done and dusted. It makes sense, really. Envy had this mega facility in the heart of downtown Dallas, so it makes sense to use it. The guys have moved closer in there. That's where they do everything out of right now. The guys play out of there. Obviously, the watch party's out of there, and everything that's been happening behind the scenes at OpTic over the last several months. I don't know where HyDra is. I mean, he used to have an office there. I haven't seen him in ages. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes at OpTic, but we know what's going on from a content perspective. So a new Game Chat episode comes out last night, and the OpTic guys were discussing right at the start their matches in the previous weekends. So this week they played Ravens, of course, but this was recorded before then. They played the previous week Gorillas, and of course that ridiculous series against the Minnesota Rocker, one of the series of the year so far, certainly online. I mean, I've not seen anything like that in a very long time. The 3 versus 14 in the control to start the reverse sweep. That might have been the map that completely broke the Minnesota Rocker, and as I say, we'll talk about them later on today. But going into that series, or certainly after that series, the feeling was, damn, OpTic didn't really look like themselves, certainly at the start of those series, and even against the Gorillas one, right, they got slammed 250 to like 150 or whatever it was, 120 or something, on that Karachi hardpoint against the Los Angeles Gorillas. Then, fair play, they bounced back and won the series. But the feeling is, they play some good teams upcoming OpTic. They play Toronto, they play New York. Going to be really interesting to see how that goes. And according to Shotzzy here, definitely the implication is, and I think there's been rumours to this effect as well anyway, and yeah, they basically say it, that some sort of connection issues at the facility were compromising their practice.
The rock run was insane.
I don't think I've ever witnessed something like that.
I've never left a series like that, just like laughing, just like.
Well, actually, here, let me. I mean, we could kind of tell them like leading up to this week, basically like our practice for the most part. I mean, it was pretty inconsistent in terms of like the way the game felt, or not the game. Yeah, I guess you could say like the game felt, because like for whatever reason, like actually, can I even say this?
No, probably don't. Just like, I don't know. Last time I brought it up.
I mean, that's true.
Just then,
you probably can't say it was inconsistent because we like.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say.
Yeah, we
couldn't practice properly, which is like nothing on any. I mean, everyone tried to do what we could have, like to fix it, and for whatever reason, it just kept malfunctioning for whatever reason. But
we persevered.
We persevered.
We weathered the storm.
We weathered the storm.
We weathered the damn storm.
Beat adversity, bro. Like
that first map, Lamar was on that truck literally the entire map.
Lamar didn't even fry for something, but it felt like he went off, right?
Lamar legit.
Did not feel like Lamar was everything game
Dude,
one.
what? I thought he went plus 60.
I thought you actually went plus 30 game one. And I was like, that's a Lamar series.
said, yo, thank you for the like. And please let me know if there's ever a post at all that bothers you. I'm not doing this for money. I'm learning Twitter Blue and the algorithm from other projects with anything I enjoy and a team I love. Hashtag Greenwall.
Look at this shit.
And it's literally just me and Brandon.
Why does Bruce look so chubby?
Why do I look like that?
You're crying, bro.
You actually look like you kind of hitting, dude.
That's crazy. How does he even do that?
I don't know.
Why am I blonde? Like I just don't fit the blonde
Yeah,
image.
the blood look is trolling. What
Look
the
at this.
fuck?
This is the account, bro. This shit is so trolly, bro. And then look at the name, Denny. So it's like, and it's like that is super trolling.
That's actually hilarious. What the fuck? I didn't see this shit.
Yeah, I'm telling you, this dude is everywhere.
That's actually Denny.
Yo.
That shit look close.
Yeah, it would be funny if he changed the Quavo thing to Denny, dude.
No, that is hilarious, bro.
Like he's everywhere though.
So I feel like this has been a talking point for some time about the OpTic facility in general, of course, formerly the Envy facility. Back in 2020, when the Dallas Empire boys were playing out of there, I'm pretty sure they also had their fair share of internet issues. I believe they put in an entirely separate internet line because one of their internet lines kept going down or something. So they literally put in like an entirely separate internet system into that place, just in case it goes wrong, so they have a backup available. And okay, when they've played CDL matches, there haven't been issues because, of course, they play out of there. But I'm pretty sure it was a discussion back in the day that Kremp, I don't know, you know how Kremp is. He had some issues, I think, with the way the internet was there and just felt like something was off. And Dashy probably felt the same way, right? So let's be honest, when the Hex Quarters existed, he would play out of there. He wouldn't even play from the facility where, you know, Pred, Shotzzy, or even like, I guess last year, right, it was Ghosty and everything, were playing from down to the heart of downtown Dallas. Dashy would be back at the Hex Quarters playing out of there because he, you know, lived nearby, but also he just, you know, good vibes at that place. The internet worked well, and Dashy was in a good headspace when he played out of there. Whereas when he played out of the headquarters, it was a bit of a different story. But now there's no choice, right? The Hex Quarters no longer exists, or well, it exists, but it's no longer a thing for OpTic. So here they are playing out of the facility all the time. And maybe this has affected them to some degree. It's a strange one because in theory, that facility, where it is, locality-wise, should be fantastic, but there's been a history, I think, of questionable internet stuff with that situation over the last several years, and it's never what you want to be dealing with. So the assumption would be that ever since those couple of series, it's been okay, and maybe they got affected for a few days, and now it's okay again. But still a bit of a question on to what extent this may continue to affect them. Let's just say that this internet situation is resolved, they've worked to deal with it, and now the connection problems are perfectly fine again going forwards for the rest of the time. Good stuff, but also they've already lost some degree of practice, I would say, over the last couple of weeks compared to where they would have potentially been otherwise. And yes, their recent games are impressive. To some degree. They 3-0'd, of course, Thieves. They 3-2'd Rocker in a series they should have really lost. Gorillas, okay, 3-1. And then Ravens, of course, was the 3-1 the other day. But they've played their easy games so far. They're 4-0 OpTic so far this stage. But let's be honest, they should be 4-0, right? Based on the teams that they've gone on to play so far. Things get more challenging for them pretty much all across the board. The games they have upcoming are against Boston, then Toronto, then the New York Subliners. So the Toronto game is actually this weekend. I'm pretty sure it's the final game of the Sunday. That probably makes sense, doesn't it? Let's be honest here. And it's the same thing against the Subliners the weekend after, right? So I think it's going to be really interesting to see where OpTic are, because Subliners are clearly making progress right now. We know that FaZe and Ultra are still FaZe and Ultra. Yes, they played the other day, but yeah, that is what it is. OpTic really need to prove to the league and to themselves that they are a serious contender going into the major, because Ultra, I'm sure, still believe they're the best team in the game. FaZe certainly believe they're the best team in the game. The Subliners the other day, I think Skyz said that they believe they're the best team in the game. So, you know, OpTic need to show that they have good reason to believe the same, because if they do, then, you know, I'm sure they can go into the major and do some serious damage. But we'll see in these couple of series whether the results of the last few days have been against worse teams than expected, or whether they're actually still right up there at the top of the pecking order, even if they've lost a little bit of practice that is, you know, probably not otherwise ideal. So definitely a situation they're going to need to resolve, but one, of course, there's only so much that the players can do, and I'm not always sure it's the case that, like, the internet line goes down. It's just like a ping thing, I think, on this internet line. That was the talking point a few years ago, that the internet would work there, but there was a feeling from the players that the latency was a little bit strange, a little bit inconsistent. So even though, like, let's say Scump does the watch party, it's not like his stream goes down very often, or the internet's been inconsistent for that facility, but I don't know, there was just been some talk about the latency and the connectivity and stuff there that doesn't seem ideal. And also, it's one of those things that can get in a player's head as well. Like, if you're playing a game out of the facility and you get clowned on, like, you know, you just get totaled or something, and you're thinking, well, damn, is that me or is that the internet or whatever? You never want to think about that as a variable. So I think it's something that's obviously they'll have to look into, but I feel like this is something they've been looking into for the last several years, and I don't know if they've necessarily found a perfect solution so far. So yeah, as I say, OpTic play 2 games this upcoming weekend. They play Boston on the Friday, Toronto on the Sunday, plenty of other interesting games in between as well. Gotta be said, tough weekend as well for Boston, right? Because here they are playing OpTic and FaZe on back-to-back days. even the Los Angeles Thieves. This is going to be a really telling weekend, I would say, for them as well, because they have looked better over the last couple of matches, but they play FaZe and then they play Vegas, which is actually a really hard and interesting game at the moment. And, you know, Vegas have a legitimate chance here to move themselves to 4-1, which would be so unprecedented for that franchise. But very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.